The large golden gates of Anderson Mansion slowly creaked open. No driver, no guards. No one knew the billionaire was coming home. Donald Anderson stepped out of his sleek black Range Rover, his polished shoes clicking against the tiled driveway. The sun had already gone down. The mansion was silent. Too silent. No staff ran to open the door. No footsteps echoed. Only the faint sound of music soft, almost like a lullaby drifted from inside the house. He frowned. He hadn't told anyone he was coming. Not even his manager. He had been away for months, running business operations in Dubai, Kenya, and Singapore. But something had drawn him back today. A pull in his chest he couldn't explain. As he walked down the hallway, the song got louder. It was coming from Olivia's room. His steps slowed, his eyes narrowed. That was strange. No one was supposed to play music in Olivia's room at night. She hated Ita, at least that's what the last nurse had said. He hadn't seen her in months. Not since he sent her off with a fat check and a warning not to return. She had gotten too close, too curious. He reached the door. It was slightly open, and what he saw made his heart stop. There, in the middle of the room, under the soft glow of the chandelier, was Olivia, his daughter, his crippled daughter standing on her knees. Her arms were trembling as she held onto someone's hands. That someone was Sandra, the maid. Sandra was smiling, tears in her eyes, whispering gently, "Yes, Olivia. Just like that. You're doing it." Olivia giggled. "I feel it. My legs. I feel them, Sandra." Donald's mouth fell open. His briefcase slipped from his hand and thudded on the floor. Both Sandra and Olivia turned sharply. "Sir," Sandra gasped, her hands still holding Olivia's. "Tu didn't know you were coming." Donald's eyes darkened. His shock twisted into something else. His chest rose and fell. "You! What are you doing?" he thundered, voice low but filled with rage. "Get away from her!" Sandra froze. "Sir," she stood. "I didn't do anything wrong. She's getting better." "I said get out!" Donald's voice roared through the walls. Olivia screamed and fell back into the wheelchair. Sandra stumbled away in shock. "But I helped her. Leave this house now." His voice thundered louder than ever. Olivia, shaking, stared at her father with wide, confused eyes. "Daddy, why are you angry?" I stood today." But he didn't answer her. He didn't even look at her. His eyes were fixed on Sandra like she had committed a terrible sin. Sandra's heart raced. She had expected a thank you, a hug maybe. But this was terrifying. She ran out of the room, tears in her eyes, leaving Olivia crying behind her, down the hall, down the stairs, out the door, out into the night. And as Donald slowly walked into the room, he didn't go to Olivia. He didn't kneel or ask her what she felt. Instead, he sat in the corner of the room, put his hands on his head, and began to whisper words no one else could hear. He had been warned. The terms had been clear. If Olivia walked again, he would lose everything. Everything. But what Sandra didn't know, waste tonight would not be her last time in the mansion. And what Donald didn't know was that his time was up. Sandra couldn't sleep that night. She sat alone on a bench at the edge of a quiet street, tears streaming down her face. Her small overnight bag sat beside her. She didn't even get the chance to pack properly. Everything she owned was still in the staff quarters of the mansion. But that wasn't what hurt the most. It was Olivia, that child, so full of life and light. For the first time in years, she had stood, she had laughed. And her father didn't care. Why? Sandra asked herself over and over again. Why would a father be angry that his daughter stood on her feet? She kept seeing the look on Donald's face. Not just anger, fear, rage, like something had gone terribly wrong. She hadn't just helped Olivia stand, she had broken something. Something sacred, something forbidden. Back at the mansion, Donald stood in his private study, gripping the edge of the glass table with trembling hands. Candles lit the room. A thick, red book lay open before him, old, dusty, its pages filled with strange symbols. On the wall was a photo of Monica, his late wife, and Olivia, when she was just a child. His eyes burned as he stared at them. "She wasn't supposed to walk again," he whispered, teeth clenched. He reached for a small, locked box on the shelf and opened it. Inside was a folded letter and a pendant. The letter was from the Order of Black Santhi, a cult group he had joined 15 years ago when his business nearly collapsed. The rules had been clear. If he wanted to rise, if he wanted to become one of the wealthiest men in West Africa, he had to give up the happiness of someone he loved most. His daughter. He didn't have to kill her, but he had to make her suffer. She was 11 when it started. She had woken up one morning and couldn't feel her legs. The doctors said it was a rare neurological block, no damage, but she couldn't walk. Donald had played the grieving father, but deep down, he had agreed to it. He had kept the curse alive, and as long as Olivia remained sad, broken, and crippled, his wealth grew. Every month, he sent her gifts, expensive toys, new clothes. He changed nurses often. Anyone who got too close to her, anyone who made her smile too much, he sent away. But Sandra had been different. She had lasted longer. She had made Olivia sing, made her laugh, made her believe again. And now, she had broken the rules. He had felt it immediately. That same evening, he got a phone call from Dubai, then New York, then Ghana. Contracts cancelled, partners pulling out. One investor even said the strangest thing. "We don't know what's wrong, but something about your energy feels cursed." Donald dropped the phone. It was happening. The collapse had begun. Meanwhile, at a small church nearby, Sandra knelt at the altar, her head bowed. "God, what did I walk into?" she prayed. Behind her, a voice spoke gently. "You didn't do anything wrong, my dear." She turned. It was an older man in a grey suit, holding a Bible. "I'm Pastor Tunde. You look troubled." Sandra poured everything out, about Olivia, about the way Donald reacted, about the singing, the standing, the anger. Pastor Tunde's face grew still. "You may not know this, but there are fathers who don't protect their children. There are fathers who trade them for riches." Sandra's eyes widened. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying Olivia is not safe in that house." Sandra stood, suddenly shaken. "But where can I take her? She's still in that mansion, and I don't even have a place to sleep tonight." The pastor smiled softly. "You don't need much. Just faith. If she trusts you, she will come." Sandra nodded slowly. That night, she did the unthinkable. She returned to the mansion. Through the back gate, she used to sneak through during market runs, past the sleeping guards, into Olivia's room. The young girl was awake. Tears stained her cheeks. "Sandra," she whispered, "why did Daddy send you away?" Sandra knelt beside her. "Because he doesn't want you to walk, Olivia, but I do. I want you to be free. Do you trust me?" Olivia nodded. "Then we need to go." She wrapped Olivia in a blanket, lifted her gently into the wheelchair, and wheeled her silently out the same way she came in. No alarms, no noise, just the sound of her own heartbeat racing in her ears. By the next morning, Donald awoke to the biggest shock of his life. Olivia was gone. No trace. No note. Nothing. He searched every room, screamed at the staff, called the police, even considered contacting the Order for help. But he didn't, because he knew. He was the one losing. And somewhere out there, the girl he thought he could control was learning how to walk again. Cliffhanger. But Sandra's small apartment couldn't hide them forever. And someone was already watching. Sandra lived at the far edge of Lagos, in a one-room apartment, inside a cracked, faded building, with no running water and no generator. Chickens clucked outside. Children played barefoot in the narrow, dusty street. It was the last place anyone would expect to find the daughter of a billionaire, and that was exactly why she brought her here. Sandra locked the door behind her and placed Olivia gently on a small mattress on the floor. The girl looked around in surprise. "Is this your home?" she asked softly. Sandra nodded, smiling. "It's small, but it's safe." The room smelled of antiseptic and the sweet scent of fried plantain from a neighbor's kitchen. A small curtain divided the bathroom from the rest of the room, and a portable fan stood in the corner, spinning weakly. There was no gold, no chandeliers, no maids, But Olivia smiled. It was the first place she had been in years that felt warm. The next few weeks passed in secret. Sandra stayed hidden. She didn't go to the market. She sent a neighbor's son, Musa, to buy food and medicine. She kept Olivia inside, away from the windows. But inside that one room, magic happened. Sandra sang every morning. She told Olivia jokes and funny stories. Sometimes they played clapping games. Sometimes they just lay on the mattress and watched old cartoons on a tiny TV. And slowly, something incredible happened. Olivia began to stand, first with help, then by herself. She still wobbled. Sometimes she fell, but she always got up. And Sandra always clapped, cheered, and danced around her like she had won a gold medal. And every day, Olivia laughed louder than the day before. Back at the Anderson mansion, Donald was losing everything. His company bank accounts were frozen. 2 of his properties were seized by the government for unpaid taxes he swore he had cleared. Investors vanished. He tried calling Olivia's school, but they said her uncle, Maxwell, had withdrawn her. That was a lie. Donald knew it, but he couldn't prove it. He searched Lagos like a madman. Private investigators, police, spiritualists. Nothing. It was like Sandra and Olivia had disappeared from the face of the earth. One night, Donald stood in the same study, now dimly lit, staring at the pendant he had once used for power. The more he stared, the more the truth burned in his chest. The sacrifice was broken, and now the curse was turning back on him. Olivia, on the other hand, was thriving. She walked from one side of the room to the other. At first, she held Sandra's hands. Then she held the wall. Then she needed no one. The wheelchair gathered dust in the corner. It was no longer her prison. One morning, Olivia turned to Sandra and said, "I want to go back to school." Sandra paused. "That's a big step." "I'm ready," Olivia said with a calm voice. "I want to study. I want to build something that helps people like me, like how you helped me." Sandra's eyes filled with tears. "You're stronger than I ever imagined." They called Maxwell, Olivia's Uncle Monica's brother. He had always suspected something wasn't right at Donald's home, especially after his sister's plane crash. When Maxwell arrived at Sandra's room and saw Olivia standing, he dropped to his knees. "Monica, your child is walking again," he whispered. He hugged Olivia tightly and promised to keep her safe forever. With Maxwell's help, Olivia enrolled back in school under a new name. He covered her fees and helped Sandra move to a safer part of town. And for the first time since her mother's death, Olivia had a future again. But good news travels fast. Too fast. And one afternoon, as Sandra returned home from the shop with a bag of Gary and fish, she saw something that made her stomach twist. A black car, parked near their new apartment. Tinted windows. Engine running. Her heart skipped. She dropped the bag, rushed inside, locked the door, and looked out the window through the curtain. The car didn't move. She turned to Olivia, who was reading a science book on the bed. "Get your shoes," she whispered. "Why?" Olivia asked. "Just do it." Sandra's hands were shaking. She had seen that car before. Years ago, when Donald fired a cook who asked too many questions. The same car that followed the last maid that tried to report him. It wasn't just Donald searching anymore. The Order was watching too. That night, Donald sat at a bar, dressed in a simple shirt and jeans, his eyes empty, his phone silent. His driver had called him earlier. "We found her." Donald dropped the glass in his hand. "We traced a girl matching her description. She's walking. Sir, she's walking again." Donald stared into the dark sky. His hands trembled. He whispered, "Then it's over." His wealth was almost gone. His mansion was half empty. His businesses were dust. And now, his daughter had broken the curse. He had lost everything the cult gave him. But what hurt the most? He realized he had also lost her love. But what neither Donald nor Sandra knew was that the Order wasn't done yet. And this time, they weren't coming for money. They were coming for Olivia. It was just past midnight when Sandra jolted awake. A strange chill moved through the apartment. The fan was off. The room was dark. Power had gone again. Then she heard it a soft creak. Someone had stepped on the porch. Sandra sat up on the floor mattress she shared with Olivia and held her breath. Olivia was still asleep beside her, breathing peacefully. Then came another sound, a soft knock on the window. Not fast, not aggressive, just intentional. 3 knocks. Pause. Then 2. Her heart raced. She remembered it. That was the signal the guards at Anderson Mansion used when Donald wanted someone to step out quietly. Her stomach tightened. They had found them. She stood up slowly and tiptoed to the window, lifting the curtain just enough to peek. Nothing. The street was silent. Then suddenly a voice from the door. "Sandra, you can't hide her forever." She gasped. It wasn't Donald's voice. It was deeper, older, and full of darkness. She grabbed her phone and dialed Maxwell. Her hands were shaking. "Pick up, pick up." He answered after the second ring. "Sandra? Is everything all right? They found us." "What?" "They're outside. I heard them." "Stay calm. Lock everything. I'm coming with a car now." Sandra ended the call, turned around only to find Olivia standing behind her, eyes wide. "I heard it too," she whispered. "Are they here for me?" Sandra knelt and held her. "Not if I can help it." The next morning, Maxwell arrived with a black jeep and took them far from Lagosto Ibadan, where he owned a secure bungalow with a fenced compound and private security. Olivia hated running again, but she trusted Sandra. Inside the bungalow, she felt safer. Still, Sandra kept watch. She knew this wasn't over, and she was right. Back in Lagos, Donald Anderson sat in his empty study, now filled with dust and silence. His suits hung untouched in the closet. His awards lay scattered on the floor. He hadn't eaten all day. He didn't care. He had finally admitted it to himself. He had lost. Not just his empire, but his daughter. His soul. He reached for the old letter from the order and tore it into pieces. Then he threw the pendant into the fireplace. He didn't care what they did to him anymore. But the very next night, someone knocked at his door. He opened, turned, froze. It was Chief Okonkwo, high-ranking member of the order, dressed in all black, eyes like coal. "You broke the oath, Donald," the man said. "Now we pay for your mistake." Donald stepped back, suddenly afraid. I didn't break it. It was the maid. She took her away." Okonkwo sneered. "You let the girl walk again. And worse, you let her live happy." Donald fell to his knees. "Please, don't hurt her. Hurt me. I'll pay. It's too late," Okonkwo hissed. "You gave us a soul, and now that soul is free. The balance is broken. The only way to restore it is to take her completely." Donald's eyes widened. "No, I won't let you." But the door slammed shut in his face. When he opened it again, Okonkwo was gone, just like a shadow. Back in Ibadan, Olivia was walking fully now. No more stumbles, no more need for walls. She could walk, run, and even dance again. But her heart wasn't free. She missed her mother, and she still wondered, why would my father want me crippled? Maxwell sat her down one day and told her everything, from the day Monica died in the plane crash to the deal Donald made in desperation. The cult, the curse, the sacrifice. Tears poured down Olivia's face. "So, I was his ticket to wealth?" she asked. Maxwell nodded slowly. "Yes, but you were also his biggest punishment." A few days later, they received news that shook them all. Donald Anderson had lost everything. His mansion had been auctioned, his cars taken, his companies dissolved. He had nothing left except a small old car and 2 suitcases. And then came the unexpected, a message from him. Maxwell opened it and read it out loud. "I was blind, and I was weak. I let power rule me. I hurt you, Olivia. I don't deserve forgiveness. But if you ever feel ready to see me, I will be at the place your mother and I first took you to when you were a baby, Olumo Rock. I'll wait there for one day. If you don't come, I will understand." "Dad." Sandra looked at Olivia, unsure. "You don't have to go," she said softly. But Olivia shook her head. "I will." The next day, at the foot of Olumo Rock in Abeokuta, Donald sat on a bench. He looked nothing like a billionaire anymore. His clothes were plain, his shoes dusty, His face was thinner, older, wiser. He stared at the giant rock before him, the same place Monica had laughed, while holding baby Olivia in her arms. His eyes were red with regret. Then he heard footsteps. He turned around, and there she was, Olivia. Walking, tall, proud, Sandra walked behind her. Maxwell stood at a distance. Donald fell to his knees. Tears ran down his face as he crawled toward her. "My daughter, I don't deserve your kindness. I don't even deserve your presence. But I need you to know, I am sorry." Olivia stared at him. She wanted to scream. She wanted to hit him. But she didn't. Instead, she bent down and touched his shoulder. "I forgive you," she said quietly. "Not for you, but for me." Donald cried harder. She reached into her bag and handed him an envelope. He opened it. $1 million. "Start again," she said. "But this time, do it clean." He couldn't believe it. He hugged her legs, crying. "Thank you. Thank you, my child." Maxwell walked forward and pulled Donald to his feet. "No more secrets," he said. "You have one more chance. Don't waste it." Weeks passed. Donald moved to Enugu, started a small cocoa trade business with the money Olivia gave him, and refused every dark offer that came his way. 6 years later, he became successful again, but this time through honesty and hard work. And Olivia, she built software that transformed education in Africa. Schools adopted her digital learning system. She was honored worldwide. She became one of Nigeria's youngest tech millionaires. And then one day, she met Johnson, a gentle, intelligent doctor who worked in rural hospitals. They shared the same heart kind, passionate, driven by purpose. 1 month after, they got married. At the wedding, in front of hundreds of guests, Donald walked Olivia down the aisle, weeping softly. When he gave a speech, his voice shook. "I was lost in greed," he said. "But my daughter brought me back. I stand here today, not just as her father, but as a man who learned that no success built on evil ever lasts." Everyone clapped. Olivia smiled. "And Sandra?" She sat in the front row, wearing a stunning lace gown, surrounded by love and respect. Later that year, Olivia opened a large mall in Sandra's name. Sandra stores became one of the most popular fabric stores in Lagos. But as the sun set on Olivia's wedding night, a shadow appeared at the gate, an old man in black. And in his hand was the broken pendant Donald thought he had destroyed. The sky above Banana Island was glowing with stars. Inside Olivia's mansion, the air was filled with laughter, music, and the warmth of celebration. Candles flickered gently, flowers danced in the evening breeze, and guests in elegant traditional attires filled the decorated hall, smiling and clapping as Olivia and her new husband, Dr. Johnson, shared their first dance. It was a night of love, of healing, of second chances. But outside the gates, something dark stirred. The old man in black stood still beneath a streetlight, the shadows hiding his face. His left hand gripped a long staff carved with symbols. His right hand held the broken pendant burned, cracked, but still pulsing faintly with red light. He whispered words in a language older than time, and somewhere, far away, the ground shifted. Inside the mansion, Donald sat in the corner of the ballroom, watching his daughter and her husband with pride and tears in his eyes. Never in his wildest dreams did he think he'd be part of this moment. Not after what he had done. He had lost everything, his wealth, his power, his daughter's trust. But she had given him a second chance. He had rebuilt his life, not through rituals or evil, but with his hands, his honesty, and his sweat. And now she was married, strong, independent, walking tall, free. He took a deep breath, but suddenly his chest tightened, his vision blurred, and just for a moment he thought he saw something move outside the window. A figure, a shadow, watching. Upstairs, Olivia was removing her heels when she felt it to a strange chill that slid through the air like a whisper. She paused, turning toward the window. For a second, it was as if everything slowed down. The music, the laughter, her heartbeat. She walked to the balcony and looked outside. That's when she saw him, the man in black, standing alone, unmoving, staring straight at her. Her breath caught. He lifted his hand. The broken pendant gleamed in the moonlight. Then, like smoke, he vanished. 3 days later, the piece shattered. It started with Sandra. She had just opened her second shop location in IKEA. Business was booming. Customers came from all over the state for her fabrics. She had even started sponsoring girls from poor backgrounds to learn tailoring and sewing. But on her way home one evening, her car skidded suddenly. The brakes, new and recently serviced, failed completely. Sandra's car spun off the road, crashing into a street pole. She survived, with only a broken arm and some bruises. But it wasn't an accident. The mechanic found a tiny charm tied to the engine, black thread, feathers, bones. It was a warning. Maxwell was next. His clinic in Ibadan was burned in a fire that started without any known cause. The CCTV cameras failed minutes before the flames erupted. No injuries, no deaths, but the message was clear. You helped her walk. Now you will feel the heat. Even Donald, now living humbly in Enugu, wasn't spared. A box was delivered to his door. Inside, a shattered photo frame of Olivia as a baby, and the symbol of the order carved into the glass. He collapsed into his chair, shaking. They were not finished. He knew what he had to do. That same night, he boarded a bus to Lagos and arrived at Olivia's mansion by sunrise. She was in her home office, dressed in a simple t-shirt and jeans, reviewing a new education project. Johnson was away at work. When Donald walked in, she rose immediately. "Daddy?" He looked pale, afraid, weak. "They're back," he said simply. "The order." Her face tightened. "I saw a man on the night of the wedding." "I saw him too," he whispered. "And now they've started attacking everyone who helped you." He dropped to his knees. "I have to finish this. I have to end what I started." They went to Sandra's apartment together. Sandra's arm was in a sling, but she looked more determined than ever. "If it's a fight they want," she said, "they picked the wrong people." Maxwell joined them, wrapping his bruised hand from the clinic fire. They drove together, 4 people once victims of the curse, no survivors, ready to end it. They arrived at the place where it had all begun. The secret shrine buried beneath an abandoned warehouse in the outskirts of Badagry. Donald had been here 15 years ago. The door was hidden behind a false wall. Olivia held her father's hand tightly. "Whatever happens," she whispered, "I'm not leaving without you." Donald nodded. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and whispers. The old man in black stood waiting at the center. "So," he said, his voice echoing, "you've come to return the gift." "I've come to destroy it," Donald said. The man in black raised the pendant. "You broke the oath. You owe us. You cannot walk away without a price." Then, with one wave of his hand, the ground trembled. Walls cracked, shadows moved. Ghostly hands reached from the darkness. Sandra screamed. Maxwell pulled Olivia behind him. Donald stood tall, no longer afraid. "I sacrificed my daughter to gain the world," he shouted, "but I will not let you take her again. Take me instead." The shadows stopped. The room grew still. The man in black laughed softly. "You still don't understand, Donald. You were never the true sacrifice." She was. Suddenly, Olivia stepped forward. "No," she said. "You don't get to own me. Not anymore." She lifted her wristband, revealed a small stone bracelet her mother had given her before she died. It glowed softly now. Monica had always told her it was protection, and in that moment, it began to shine brighter than ever. A wave of light burst from the bracelet, slamming through the shrine. The pendant in the man's hand exploded. He screamed. The shadows vanished. The walls crumbled. And the shrine fell apart. They made it out just in time, covered in dust, shaken but alive. The curse was broken, not by power, not by sacrifice, but by love. 3 months later, Sandra was back in her shops, now with a third branch opening in Abuja. Maxwell's clinic was rebuilt and now doubled as a free counseling center for families dealing with trauma. Donald moved in with Olivia and Johnson, becoming a mentor for young boys who had no fathers. He smiled more now. He cooked, he laughed, he prayed, and for the first time in his life, he slept in peace. 1 year later, at a global tech summit in Accra, Ghana, Olivia took the stage. She wore a sleek suit, her face calm and bright. The host introduced her. Please welcome the CEO of EduSpark Africa, developer of the learning software used in 22 countries. Applause echoed. Olivia stepped up, took the mic, and smiled. I once lost the ability to walk because someone believed I needed to suffer so he could rise. But I'm here today because another person, Maid, believed I could fly. Her name is Sandra, and she saved me. The crowd stood, tears flowed, cameras flashed, and in the front row, Sandra smiled quietly, her eyes glistening with pride, because the girl she once held by the hand was now walking the world. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.